The state has released new insight into the spread of COVID-19. In the past week, the Department of Public Health reports 110 outbreaks in Georgia. 23 of those were in long-term care facilities. Schools like Etowah High and Cherokee County accounted for 14 outbreaks. So did offices in Georgia. There were 13 outbreaks at manufacturing facilities and 13 more in prison and jails. Churches and restaurants were also identified as a source of COVID spread. The number of new cases, while still very high, has started to steady. That is some good news. Friday, about 3,200 new positive test results were reported. The number of people in the hospital with coronavirus also continues to decrease. But DPH does not want to take those trends for granted. It averaged 31,000 tests every day this week and hopes that number does not drop.